All right. Well, we had a bunch of days where nothing happened. So let's have a day where too much is happening. It's a live stream of Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called these days, and on Instagram. Or you can follow me. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Or you could just join us here. There you go. By the way, thanks so much for making us the number one sports podcasting network. Say it loud and say it proud. Okay, let's go. Before we start our day here, let's just go through the trivia question, get some business done here. We are doing a live stream, so if you want to join on here on YouTube and post some comments in the section there. Hey, Christian from the Discord is here. About time everyone signs and trades. Yeah, it's happening all at once because spring training is happening really, really soon. The trivia question that I did for the show the other day, which was what two future Hall of Famers were teammates of the 1992 A's and played for 9 different franchises each. And I realized there were several Hall of Famers on that team. Big John 08865 said trivia guests Ricky Henderson and Harold Baines. Remember, Baines was on that A's team, and he's in the Hall of Fame. Great guess. Incorrect. Baines played for a bunch of teams, but not for 9. Justin Miner, and a couple of you got this one right. Justin Miner 5373 trivia guests Ricky and Goose. That's correct. Rich Gossage was briefly on the A's in 1992. Didn't play in that year's postseason, but he played that season alongside Ricky Henderson and Hall of Famers Harold Baines and Hall of Famer Dennis Eckersley. And the trivia question today is going to be about another A's Hall of Famer, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. Okay, after weeks and weeks of nothing happening, a lot of things happen right now. And so let's just talk about the first one that happened, the one that I'm probably more prepared to talk about, quite frankly. Cody Bellinger signed with the Yankees. And quite frankly, this is not really a shock. The only shocking thing is that it took really as long as it did. This is one of those situations where, yes, I know he's a Scott Boras client, and Scott Boras's job as an agent is to get the best huge deal for his client. I don't understand the vitriol people have for Scott Boras because he does his job. If I were to be a podcasting free agent, now why would I leave the number one sports podcasting network out there? But if someone was, I would want Boras to go out and give me the best deal, and as would you, and that's what he does. So, there you go. But he wanted to have like a 7-year, I think $4 quadrillion contract for Cody Bellinger, and the Yankees didn't want to go that long. And he went out there, and the 3 biggest markets that I thought the clearest markets for him to sign were possibly Toronto, possibly the Chicago Cubs, possibly the New York Mets. And I think he was a very good fit to be in the San Francisco Giants. And when the Yankees started playing the whole, well, then, we're moving on, I really thought the Giants may swoop in. And when the Mets acquired Bo Bichette instead of Cody Bellinger, I thought, well, that's interesting. And then when the Mets later traded for Luis Robert Jr., that made me think, well, then they're out of the Cody Bellinger business. The Tucker signing made sure the Dodgers were out of that business. The Bregman signing made the Cubs out of the business. I really thought maybe San Francisco and Toronto would have a shot, but in the end, he makes the most sense in New York. He likes playing in New York. His dad won a couple World Series titles as a New York Yankee. He had a fine year. He's still, he's been around a long time, but he's still only 30. He's going to turn 31 this year. He's still, he's still a really good player. If you're into WAR, I'm not the biggest WAR fan. He's a 5 WAR player. He steals bases. He has a high OPS. Hits a lot of home runs. He plays, and he can play any spot in the outfield, and he can play first base. So as the Yankees are trying to figure this thing out or that thing out, the fact that he could play anywhere in the outfield and first base makes a lot of sense. The fact that he's a solid bat to have in the lineup along with uh, Aaron Judge makes a lot of sense. And yes, they wanted 7 years and all the money in the world and a big Scrooge McDuck pile. They got 5 years, $162.5 million guaranteed, no deferrals. He gets a signing bonus, and he gets salaries for, he gets a 5-year deal. It's pretty good. If you're 30, he's going to be 35 and still collecting a big hefty paycheck. He's going to be playing for the Yankees, which means he just has a shot at making the postseason year in and year out, because the Yankees, people could pick on the Yankees or this, that, or the other thing, but the Yankees are a good team. And he has checked virtually everything off of your bucket list for a Major League Baseball player. He's been an MVP. He's been a Silver Slugger winner. He's been a Gold Glove winner. He won the Rookie of the Year. He was a postseason MVP. He should not, but we'll get to that in a second. He's been an all-star. He's been a World Series champion. He's done all those things. I will say he won a postseason MVP, and I believe that was it was in 2018. I'm going to go on the record. He should not have won the NLCS MVP in 2018. I mean, that's on his resume. Yes, he's homer, 4 runs batted in. His OPS was 591. He should not have been the MVP of the 2018 World Series. There's NLCS. There's a couple times in history where they got it really, really wrong, and that was one of them. Why? Because it should have gone to Yasiel Puig. Yasiel Puig was the MVP of that series. You could make a case for Chris Taylor as well, but it should have gone to Yasiel Puig. Instead, it went to Cody Bellinger, who, if you like batting average, he batted 200. If you like OPS, his OPS was under 600. You could make the case he actually did not have a great World NLCS, but he got some hardware for it. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that he is a really good player who dusted himself off after a couple of, after the COVID season. He was awful. He had a negative WAR in 2021. I know I'm here in LA, and people are like, what the hell happened to Cody Bellinger? And he had 2 really rotten seasons that made Dodger fans go, wow, he fell off a cliff in his mid-20s. And it was really, really weird. And he rediscovered himself with Chicago. And maybe this is one of the things that came to fruition for Cody Bellinger. When I say, just give me that 5-year deal. Because if you came up to people when Cody Bellinger was, if you look at his stats in the post-COVID season, he was a disaster. If you like batting average, he batted 165. If you like OPS, his OPS was 542. If you like WAR, it was negative WAR. And the next year, where he managed to play 144 games, but still his production was bad. He was a mediocre to bad player. And if you told him at age 26, with his career absolutely falling off a cliff, that he would have an opportunity to sign a 5-year deal worth 162.5 million pigs, I bet at one point he said, what are we talking about here? Give me that contract. I'll sign it now. And I think that's what happened. And I think all sides, the Yankees did not want to go super banana boats. But in the end, it was a contract that made the most sense, and it benefited Cody Bellinger. And there he is, and he had to settle for 5 years, 100 someone. And the Yankees got who they wanted, and didn't. He's not signed for 7 or 8 years, so it worked out fine for everybody. And the Yankees could not afford to have lost him. Now the Yankees still have other things they have to attend to. They still need a starting pitcher. I think they should wind up putting Bellinger at first base, especially with some of the logjam they have in their outfield right now. I mean, the fact of the matter is that they were probably not expecting Trent Grisham to accept the offer, but you have Dominguez, Grisham, Judge. I would have Bellinger play first base. Ben Rice can fill for him from time to time. Yes, Giancarlo Stanton's going to hit a lot of home runs when he's healthy, but and I know he's going to miss at least 40 games this year, maybe more. So it's a good pickup. And I also think the Yankees should just keep Jazz Chisholm at second, because that's where he's good at, and try to get another decent infielder. But there you go. It was a smart move for everybody, and now they have a couple of things to do. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the other big acquisition that happened shortly before I was going to record this thing. And so I may not be as up to speed as other people on this. I just got my first, look at this, I got my first W-2 that I have to have for my taxes here. I had 3 different employers this year. Sadly, none of them were Major League Baseball. I'm still willing to sign for any team for half of what Cody Bellinger signed for. But tax season, do you know what? It's coming before you know it. It doesn't have to take over your life, because this year TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right into your TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert's handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert, say that 3 times fast, for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book it today. By the way, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen of the day, and thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. And if you haven't already, check out the Everydayer Club. You get ad-free audio of Locked On MLB. It's similar to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and I am part of the Everydayer Club Discord. I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Check us out at lockedonmlb.supercast.com. Okay. Here's the other thing that happened today. This happened pretty recently. The Milwaukee Brewers, remember them? The Milwaukee Brewers were the best team in baseball in the regular season in terms of win-loss record, and that's how we judge things. And they took their star pitcher, Mr. Freddy Peralta, and they shipped him off to the New York Metropolitans, and there we go. There we go. Let's first of all talk about it from the from the position of the Mets, shall we? The Mets needed a starting pitcher, and the Mets have basically try to revamp the lineup. I know there's a tremendous amount of controversy, and some of the moves they've been making, I'm sorry. I mean, if you're going to spend all that money on Bo Bichette and have him play out of position, then you can't at the same time talk about the fact that you're going into run prevention to be your goal for the 2026 season. That's just weird. They did take away Diaz and Nimmo and Pete Alonso. I would have just have kept Alonso instead of doing the Bichette move, but that's just me. They broke up the chemistry and the identity of the team. However, the chemistry and the identity of the team has been a disaster. I mean, they just had one of the great historic face plants, and they are the great counter argument for the people who say, like, oh, well, you know what, you're just going to, buy, money will just have you buy free agents left and right. Well, look at the Mets. So the Mets had to do something radical this offseason, even if it means, giving a team a complete facelift. Now, they traded away Jet Williams. Jet Williams is one of their top, number one pick for the Mets in the 2022 draft, 14th overall. He's been a top 100 Baseball America prospect for the last bunch of seasons. Last year, at age 21, made it all the way to AAA as as a shortstop, center fielder, second baseman. His main position that he's played this year, in the 2025, he played mainly at second base, but he did play center field and shortstop. So he played, he's all infielder, outfielder, and a lot of versatility. And a big, one of the Mets' top prospects. He's now one of the Brewers' top prospects. And if we've seen in the past, the Brewers have been really smart in some of their deals, getting some quality players. Jet Williams could be a really solid major leaguer that the Brewers will have control over for a long time. They also got Brandon Sproat, not Sprout, Sproat, who is a young pitcher, pitched in a handful of games for the Mets last year, but he was someone who, came up through their system, pitched in Syracuse, pitched okay in Syracuse, got all the way to AAA, got a call up with to the major leagues with for the Mets as they went through so many pitchers last year. So they got two players, one an infielder, outfielder, and a pitcher for Freddy Peralta. That's what the Brewers got. Now the Mets got Freddy Peralta, and this is and it looks like there's more to the deal. I'm sorry, I'm getting information as we're going on here, but the main piece, they got a second pitcher in the deal there, but the main piece is they got Peralta, who led the National League in wins last year. He's still relatively young. He's going to be 30 in June. Pitches a bunch of innings, has been an all-star multiple times over, and has been, strikes out more than an inning, more than a batter an inning. And there you go. Has not had a lot of success in the postseason. He's not had a lot of success in the postseason. Let's just be honest here. But he helped pitch the Brewers into the NLCS last year, where, of course, they got swept by the Dodgers. But the Mets desperately need starting pitching. And I've been screaming from the highest mountain that they should be all in on Framber Valdez. I still think they should be. I think Freddy Peralta is not enough. And I still think that they should do everything in their power to get as many major league pitchers as possible, because that was the main thing that kept them out of the postseason. So I get this trade. This trade makes sense for the Mets. I'm sure a lot of people are relieved that he wasn't traded to the Dodgers, because that would just keep being insane. It was one of the big spenders who did pick him up, and it's a good move when you consider the Mets are trying to do something right here, right now. Now, will this be one of those trades that come back to haunt them? As he's going into his 30s, we've seen sometimes pitchers be really, really great going deep into their 30s. And sometimes you get Brandon Webb. Sometimes you get Tim Lincecum. And if Jet Williams turns into something, we don't know. But the fact of the matter is the Mets could not sit tight. They had to do something. They needed, and did I mention needed, to make a deal for a starting pitcher. And they did. and Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat could turn into, you know, Carlos Beltran and Justin Verlander for all we know. But they need to do something now to show the fans right now that 2025 was completely unacceptable. And here we are. So I get the deal for the Mets. You can't worry too much about the future right now. You got to do something now. You got to change the tenor of the team. And for Met fans, okay, we'll see how Bichette fits in. I'm still not sure how he fits in, but if he's a really good hitter, they'll figure it out. And then you bring in Freddy Peralta. And Marcus Semien apparently is a really great guy and everything. There are a lot of players who are going to be on the wrong side of 30 that you're banking are going to be really good for the next bunch of years. But I can't complain about this trade. I'm going to complain a little bit on the Brewers side, but I will say that there have been times the Brewers have proved me wrong. The Brewers remain one of the few franchises in Major League Baseball to have never won a World Series title. Milwaukee fans have had a World Series title. They had the 1957 World Series when the Milwaukee Braves beat the New York Yankees. This is the time when you have a smaller market team, you have smaller windows of opportunity. We know that. Is that fair? I don't know. Fair's got nothing to do with it. Yes, and this when I'm anti-salary cap. I've made that very, very clear, but I am not completely insensitive to the frustration of small market teams. I understand that sometimes the window of opportunity is not as huge as it can be for some of the big market clubs. I get it. However, we are right now in a stretch. If you're a Milwaukee Brewer fan, from 2018 to last year, the Brewers were in the postseason every single year except one. They barely missed in 2022, the wild card. Oh, and by the way, the team they just barely missed to was to Philadelphia, who went on to win the pennant that year. The Brewers got to Game 7 in the NLCS in 2018. They got to the NLCS last year. Both times they lost to Los Angeles. They've lost some heartbreaking, including the Pete Alonso game in 2024. They've had three straight in 4 of the last 5 years. The Brewers have been a 90-plus win team. And the one year they didn't was the year they missed the postseason. But year in and year out, the Milwaukee Brewers are going to win 90-some-odd games. Since 2018, they won 96 in 2018. They won 89 in 2019 when they lost a wild card game to Washington. The COVID season, wiped that out. 2021, they won 95 games, 86 wins, 92 wins, 93 wins. And last year, they won 97 games. This is the window of opportunity that they have to win it all. And they're just hoping to roll the dice that one of these years it all lines up. This is the time that Brewers ownership should be doing things like saying, all right, we're going to go for it. We're here right now. We're on the precipice. If there was that hit by pitch, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. I got to look it up. But there was with the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth of Game 1 of the NLCS. Remember that? And Blake Trinan, who was awful in the postseason. How awful was he? They wouldn't even go to him in Game 7 of the World Series. He came out, and remember, the bases loaded, Bryce Terang up, and there was an inside pitch that nearly hit him. If it hit him, the tying run would have come in. Remember that? If that had happened, the entire tone of that NLCS would have been different. But it didn't, and the Dodgers swept them, and I was there for the Shohei Ohtani game, which is one of the most remarkable performances. And the Brewers' bats died. They scored 4 runs the entire series. Hit batsmen or not in Game 1, if the bats of the Brewers were that dead, they weren't going to win piddly-poo. But for Milwaukee, this should be the time that you are going for it. And you take a look at, what they've done this offseason. Brandon Woodruff is coming back. Congratulations. They signed Sammy Peralta, because I guess they wanted to keep the Peralta jerseys. They got Zerpa. Okay. They still have Churio. They still have Terang. They still have William Contreras. They still have, you know, they still have a lot of the players who were there, but they're not adding a lot to this team. Now, I've been wrong about the Brewers in the past. They traded Burns. They traded Adames. They made a bunch of moves that look like, oh, God, they're going to rebuild. They're going to rebuild. They're going to rebuild. And then they wind up having another 90-something win team. This could go in the Brewers' favor if Mizorowski blossoms into the ace of the team. They acquire they're probably not going to be in the Framber Valdez sweepstake, but they go out and they acquire a major league starting pitcher to insert into the rotation and watch Jet Williams become a star. That might be what happens. I want to see the Milwaukee Brewers continue to be this. They're a fun team. And for Brewers fans who are going on this wonderful streak, this entire streak will be, I hate to use the term justified, but it would be justified if they just win once. Just once. You remember the Angels in the 2000s? They were in the playoffs year in and year out. And that whole run feels justified because they won the World Series in 2002. And the other times they went in 04, 05, 07, 08, 09, they peppered and sort of made you remember what a great run it was. And it seemed like a really great run, especially because they won it all the first time out of the gate. The very next decade, you had the Nationals, who were in the playoffs virtually every year, but it seemed more frustrating because they kept losing it. Unlike the Angels, who won their first time, the Nationals won their last time. And with that championship, in what was really an underappreciated Game 7 of the World Series, that was a terrific Game 7 of the World Series in 2019. And the game where they beat Los Angeles to go to the NLCS was an absolute classic. Well, because the Nats won a World Series, it made all those other years where they lost, that was just a build up to that great thing. That entire run was justified. The Brewers are kind of in that spot right now. That since 2018, you had the what is it? The what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 8 years making the postseason. If they won it all this last year, or they won it all in 2022, where I thought they had a really good shot of winning it all, then not 2020, in 2021, I thought they had a really good shot of winning it all, and they got upset by Atlanta. Any one of these years, if they win it once, then this will be looked upon as an absolutely phenomenal run by the Milwaukee Brewers. Then they make this trade, and it feels like, are you selling? Are you a 97-win team in a winnable division and you're selling? I mean, why isn't that what's considered bad for baseball? That's right. Amdrizen 742. The Brewers give 2 major league pitchers for 2 lame minor leaguers. I don't know. We'll see if they're both lame minor leaguers, because who knows? I mean, we'll see if Jet Williams turns into a top prospect. But Narmar 5308 says the Brewers are ruining baseball by trading their stars all the time. That's more a valid argument than the Dodgers ruining baseball, in my humble opinion. Sproat had a terrible minor league record. Yeah, we'll see. Sometimes pitchers don't necessarily have the best stats in the minor league. Sometimes you see pitchers go to the right coaching staff. I'm willing to say the jury's out on him. Jet Williams was supposedly a terrific prospect, but we'll see. So was Matt Laporta. So was Kyle Drabeck. So there you go. There you go. So we'll see what happens. The Brewers never win the offseason, but they usually win the NL Central. And if they win it all one year, just 1 year, Brewers fans will be able to love life. We'll see if the Brewers are better than the Mets this year. I have no idea how these pieces are going to fit for the Mets. I really don't. This could be a great year in New York, or it could be lousy. I don't know, and neither do you, and we'll find out for sure. But, because we all thought the Mets were going to be great last year. Actually, I didn't. I didn't pick them to go to the playoffs. Do you know why? I didn't trust their starting pitching. But anyway, thanks so much for tuning in to Locked On MLB. Tomorrow, well, I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow's show, but I am going to talk a little bit about revisiting the Hall of Fame election of Carlos Beltran and ask again, why isn't A-Rod in? If it's not because of juicing and not because of cheating, why isn't he in? I'm just saying. Anyway, make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On MLB to get all the latest episode, and follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called these days, and on Instagram. And please sign up for the Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonmlb.supercast.com. You get ad-free episodes, and you'll be able to interact with me on the Everydayer Club Discord. For those of you in video, go to the first ever 24/7 Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. Check that out. And let's go for the trivia question. It's going to be Brewers related. What team did the Milwaukee Brewers acquire Raleigh Fingers from before the 1981 season? Raleigh Fingers went on to win the AL MVP and Cy Young Award in the strike-shortened 1981 season, his first year with the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers acquired him in a trade. What team did the Brewers trade with to get Raleigh Fingers in the 1981 season? Put that down here. Talking about Cody Bellinger doing the inevitable. Freddy Peralta heading to New York. And the Brewers, what are they up to? What are they doing? This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.